Hey everybody, welcome to Essential Oils for In-Home Health. I am your host, Andrea Warren. I am so excited you are here with me today. I have to say this is one of my favorite topics, essential oils and pets. I am an animal lover, but before I go any further, I want to welcome you to Well World TV. If this is your first time here, we're excited that you've joined us. If you don't know who Well World TV is, we are a platform committed to providing inspirational and educational content to our viewers. So welcome. I gotta say, I'm like giddy. I'm so excited to be talking about essential oils and pets. And I am going to talk a little bit about whole body wellness because as we've talked these last few weeks, essential oils are great to add to your daily routine. They help us in so many ways, support our immune system, support our mental well-being, but we have to do some other things well too, like eating right, proper supplements. So we're going to talk about that lane when we talk about our pets too. So let me tell you a little bit about why I'm so passionate, how long I've been working with animals, so you can see a little bit about my background. As a formulator, some of my most successful lines were essential oil pet products for animals. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I've had, all different animal lines that I've created, shampoos, flea deterrents, you name it, paw bombs. But really, in the last 4 years is when my passion sort of went to an entirely different level. And that's when my daughter, Sophia, and I teamed up with our local animal shelter and started working with major medical fosters. And these were dogs that this was it. They had been bounced around to a bunch of different animal shelters. Maybe they had injuries that they weren't sure if they would be able to come back from. And our local shelter here is amazing. It's a no-kill shelter. We are excited to become a part of it. Our first foster, who is Simone, and if you follow my personal page, she was our first foster 4 years ago. Simone was a beautiful AM staff. She still is beautiful. She's staring at me as I'm I think she knows I'm talking about her. But she was a gunshot wound, possible front leg amputee. She also had heartworm damage. Actually, she still was heartworm positive when we got her. And she was a mess. So she was our first rehab. And this was really when I was going to put to test all the years that I had learned about essential oils, how they could support the body, how they could support animals. And this was sort of like, okay, if this really works, we're going to dive in and we're going to go crazy. And needless to say, Simone has her leg. She's healed. She's no longer heartworm positive. We did go through a treatment with that, but there was also a lot of damage. As many of you know, when a dog has a heartworm, that the lung capacity and breathing can be really difficult. So she goes for very long walks every day. So she's doing excellent. So that's sort of how I got more involved with really teaching people how to add essential oils to their pet's daily routine. So the first thing, thanks, Lisa. We're lucky to have her, to be honest. I have to admit, she is one of my favorites. But I want to talk to you first about how to make an essential oil first aid kit. The reason why I want to talk about that is because you not only can use this for your pets, but you can use it for you too, which I think all of this stuff is very universal. So the first oil that I like to use when I'm adding to an essential oil first aid kit is lavender. To me, when we're talking pets, we want to use mild oils. Just think to yourself, how strong is your sense of smell? Now think about it, multiply it by 1,000, that's your pet. So when you're choosing oils to use with your pets, use mild oils. Now I will have one hiccup with that when we move along this first aid kit, but I will explain why. So lavender is great for wounds care. Lavender is an excellent flea deterrent, super mild. I know there's some discussion about cats, so I'll just sort of jump in here and then we'll kind of talk more about that elephant or AKA cat in a room as we move to safety. We had another foster, his name is Nelson, AKA Norman, depending on who's hanging out with him for the day. He was a hospice foster that we got. Needless to say, he's laying over there, had him for over 1.5 years. I did use lavender with him. I did use it topically, highly diluted. He was a cat that had been in the shelter, I think it was 8 years, super skinny, no hair on his legs, no teeth. And now he's a madman and runs after my dogs and terrorizes every other cat in this household. So that is, you can use them safely, but just use caution and highly dilute. So lavender would be an excellent oil for cats as well. So that's why I put that in there. Next oil that isn't talked about a lot, but is one of my favorites, is elemi. Elemi is very similar to frankincense, and it's about a quarter of the price. So that is an oil that, again, is super mild. If you can think of all the benefits when we're talking about frankincense, it's also an excellent oil if your dog is somebody who has some anxiety issues, maybe some separation anxiety issues, dander. If you are a horse person, yes, that's correct, Lisa, elemi, E-L-E-M-I, LMI, elemi, depending on who you speak to, everybody pronounces it differently. But if you're a horse person, this is a fabulous, fabulous oil to use on the hooves. Make somewhat like I use that Aztec clay. You can add a few drops to that, add in some distilled water, make a paste and place it over the hoof. Also awesome for cracked paws, dander. And again, you're going to want to dilute and use the less is more approach. And you'll continue to do this when you're using essential oils with animals. The next essential oil that I love, love, love to add to my first aid kit is lemongrass. Lemongrass, yes, it's a little bit stronger, and these next two are going to be sort of defeat my purpose of don't use super powerful smelling, but lemongrass is, says, great info, first I got to get a dog. Well, Laura, you can have a cat. You can have all sorts of animals. You can use these with any types of animals. Just use safely, read caution. We'll go a little bit more about that on the safety issues. So lemongrass is great as a deodorizer. As for somebody who at times can have, I won't even admit how many dogs and cats I can have in here. Not too many, but I have 3 cats and 2 dogs now. And any given time I can have an additional 1 or 2 foster. So lemongrass is a really wonderful deodorizer, but also we had another foster, his name was Ford. He was another front leg amputee. I have no idea why I keep getting these front leg amputees, but he was another front leg amputee, but he had been hit by a car is what they were surmising. He had been on the streets for a while, beautiful dog, just amazing, beautiful, beautiful dog. And he had fractured his leg, was having a hard time healing. So he came to us, we rehabbed with him. We used a lot of lemongrass, a lot of lavender, a lot of another oil I'm going to share in a little bit. And when we finally got him adopted, he had all 4 legs, and the orthopedic that worked with him, the owner texted me and she said, I was laughing so hard because I had a whole conversation with her about the oils that we had used and how we were feeding him. And he said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Oh my gosh, I've never seen a leg look this good. So again, this is why they are so incredibly powerful. They can be used for so many reasons, but again, cautious. I'm going to keep saying that all throughout. I'm going to just keep nailing that home. But also muscle spasms, cramps. It's another great oil to use for that as well. And even with dogs with hip dysplasia, maybe some arthritis and tendonitis, lemongrass would be an excellent oil to add to their daily either therapy routine or however you're doing it when you're working with your dog. And I'll share a few techniques on how I do that. Next is another one that kind of blows out the water, the high smelling essential oil, and that's spearmint. So spearmint is much milder than peppermint. So I usually steer away from peppermint. I think peppermint's a little overwhelming for pets, but again, if you have someone that recommends peppermint, kudos to them, you can use it. But peppermint is an excellent oil when we're talking about supporting digestion, we're talking about respiratory, we're talking about cramping. This is an excellent oil for that. You can use that topically on pets and dogs, and definitely with dilution, and I'll share a way that I've actually done that. Another excellent oil to use, I must keep saying excellent because they're all excellent, is chamomile. Okay, so in Texas, allergies are insane. So this, again, is not just for your dogs, for you too. And chamomile has a compound in it that helps with the histamine reaction. So chamomile is excellent for allergies. Our dog Katie had horrific allergies when we moved here. I've shared some pictures of her, like lost her hair. We use a combination of CBD and essential oils. So chamomile is an excellent oil for that. It's also, when we're talking antifungal for your pets, I know horses tend to have issues with fungus issues, as do some dogs. So this would be an excellent oil for that. Also really good for those dogs that tend to lean to be more on the anxious side. This would be an excellent oil to, I'm going to stop saying excellent. This would be a wonderful oil to diffuse, would be chamomile. And again, super mild. It's not really pungent in the smell. And again, safe to use once diluted. And all the oils that I chose, just so you know, are all safe to use when diluted. I did not choose anything that there was a question mark about. And again, we could go down the list of oils to stay away from. I'm going to give you the baton and say, hey, look it up, because like I said, I tend to be way more conservative, only because that's just me. I lean on conservative because, again, there are so many different oils that you can use that are safe. And I think I've listed at this point, I think we're at 6 that do many things that really will overall encompass your dog and pets or cat or overall health. Without using those questionable oils. So next would be ginger. Ginger is super for dogs who like Simone. Simone is a wonderful dog, but she tends to get into things that she shouldn't. And she is too fantastic. And so I use ginger. It helps for flatulence. It also helps with digestion, like I mentioned. Car sickness, if dogs, Katie does not like going to the vet. You can add a few drops on the collar before, maybe a half hour before you go into your vet. You could also, there's some great diffusers for the car. If you're on a long trip, you can add those essential oils to the diffuser in the car. Always have the window cracked. That's always just a safe way to make sure that your dog or you, because I have to say, there's been people say, oh my gosh, I diffused peppermint in my car and it was totally intense. I'm like, yeah, not so good. Crack the window. And lastly, one of my favorite oils, and again, that I think is completely underutilized, is Copaiba. Copaiba, when we're talking animals that have joint issues, we're talking, like I said, hip dysplasia, arthritis, super gentle, inflammation. This would be an essential oil that supports those areas of health with your pet. And it is so important that, you incorporate these in a safe way. So that's going to segue me into our safety topics. And Susan, I promise you, oh no, it says, how do you know which brand to choose? Oh, I'm going to let you know what brand to choose, and do not choose the brand from Target. Stay far. If you're getting your essential oils from the grocery store, let me give you an inside tip. I've been using oils and working with oils for 18 years. And in the formulation world, we have to go through a lot of hoops, jump through a lot of hoops when we're getting items approved, or when we used to have things that we had the organic seal on. You have no idea what we had to do to get that. And we found out very early on that the FDA will call something an essential oil if it only has 1 drop of that essential oil. And I know I've said this many times, but I'm going to hammer that home for those people who say, well, I got my oils from Marshall's. Well, that's great, but not a good idea, because you have no idea what you're getting, especially if they're coming from other areas in the world that there is zero testing. And because when we fall into that supplement area, the testing is a lot grayer than it is for a lot of other different products. So making sure your essential oil is third-party testing, for me, is extremely important. Oh, sure, Terry. For essential oil for an animal that has arthritis, Copaiba would be an excellent oil for that. LMA would be another oil. Lavender, you can do a combination of the 3. That would be, all 3 of those would be excellent. Lemongrass, you could add to that as well when it comes to tendinitis and those stiffer joints. And I'll give you a little bit, Terry, I'll give you a little bit of a recipe I'm going to share with you at the end on how you can create a base. Copaiba, Coaiba. I think that's how you spell it. Susan will always help me, or Lisa, but I think that's how you spell it. I'm always bad. Yeah, Copaiba. I would totally fail at the spelling bee. Okay, so we're talking safety. All right, again, super cautious. I'm going to say this to you. Stay away from phenols. So those are your hot oils. If you're not familiar with those are your cinnamons, your cloves, your thymes, your oreganos, I would definitely steer, thank you. I was right. I did spell it right. Copaiba. Do I get something for that? Anyway, so I would stay away from your phenols. Totally. It's just not necessary. There are, again, so many other oils that you can use that will be safely used with your pet. Okay, so I said I was going to get to the cat issue. I so try to avoid this one because I just really, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to get to the cat issue. Okay, cats. When you're using essential oils with cats, I would say use extreme caution. I tend to use hydrosols, and if you don't know what a hydrosol is basically what's left over from when they do a steam distillation for an essential oil. So it's what you would call your floral waters. I know Young Living has a few hydrosols, but I have no problem with diffusing with cats. But I would also think about what I said before. Make sure that they have a way to leave the room. Animals are extremely bright. If they are uncomfortable or they don't like an oil, they are going to let you know. You can watch their mannerisms. I've actually had cats smell oils and then I look at their reaction, but I will never, ever, ever use an undiluted oil on any animal, except, there is an exception, I have used undiluted oils on horses, but we're talking about a 1,000-pound beast. We're not talking about your, I don't know, how little are chihuahuas? I was going to use a chihuahua. They're 8 pounds. I don't know. They're kind of small, right? So, or your cats. I would just think about it that way. So you want to dilute, as much as you possibly can. I would look at, there's a ton of really good, helpful dilution charts out there on the internet. You can always reach out to somebody like me, happy to help you in that arena. And the reason why with cats is, they don't have the same ability that all other mammals have to metabolize the terpenes of essential oils. And this is why I send this home. And I want you to hear what I'm saying here is because they can't metabolize them, they actually sit there longer. So what I mean by that is a cat will take 48 hours to metabolize an essential oil, the terpenes from that essential oil. So if you're constantly using an essential oil, there can be a buildup. So just think of that when you're using them, when you're diffusing. Doesn't mean you can't diffuse. All it just means is leave the door or the window crack, give them an area to scoot the heck out of the door if they want to. So just keep that in mind when we're talking cats. Because like I said, Nelson is passed out. I have my diffuser behind me if you can see it. Oh, it's on the other side. Oh no, there it is. It's the owl one. It's the cutest thing ever. I love it. So you can do it. It's safe. No worries. Okay, so the next thing you want to think about, like I said, third-party testing is super important. I'm going to look at if I forgot anything. Always dilute. Keep out of reach of your cats. Can I tell you how many times I have found these? And I'm admitting, I'm telling you, I have kept them out of reach, but cats can find these things. So make sure the tops are tight because they will figure out how to get them off. I'm telling you. So again, those are the things that I would talk about. Safety. We could go so much in the weeds with this, but to be honest with you, everybody has their own school of thought. Every aromatherapist does. But I can tell you, us hardcore old school ones tend to lean on the side of being a little more cautious. So we've talked about all these amazing essential oils that we're going to add to our pet's daily routine. But before we get into the extra special, sort of some additions I think you should add, I'm going to talk about when you are applying essential oils to your pets, what to use. So as we know, oil and water doesn't mix. So we want to use something that has a base. Now, for us, carrier oils are awesome. I would not recommend using a carrier oil with an animal. I would use something like this. This is whole leaf aloe vera gel. You can get it. I know right now it's kind of hard to get because of everybody making hand sanitizer, which means this is how you make hand sanitizer. But you can use this, add essential oils to it. You can actually add a little bit of distilled water and clean water, we'll get to that too, to the mixture and apply it to your dog or your horse or however you want, whatever animal you're looking at. Again, we use lavender with Nelson. I actually with him, because his legs were so tender, I used cold compresses. So, but with aloe, it's an easy way to apply it. It's not going to make your house a mess because it's not an oil, so it's not going to get on your furniture or your dog isn't going to lick it. It really just goes into the skin, and it is a super easy way to apply an essential oil very, cleanly and without much mess. I'm going to talk about also too, if you're looking for essential oils, as I said, I'm affiliated with Young Living. You can do all the stuff I talked about, creating your own blends if you really want to be that adventurous. But I thought I'd bring this out. Young Living basically dumbs it down for you. They have an amazing line of pet products. I think I have their shampoo behind me. I've used their Menwell. We had a dog that had a really bad open wound here. Yes, I had my own essential oils, but I had Menwell, which was a great essential oil to use for wound care. So Young Living makes it super easy. And they explain on the back all the things I shared today. And they talk about safety as well. So those would be why no, because to be honest with you, carrier oils, Colleen, I don't really like for pets. For one, it's a huge mess. That would be my first thing. I don't also carrier oils. If your dog licks it too much, it can give diarrhea. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. Depends on how much you're putting on there, but aloe vera is super safe. If you want to use a carrier oil, I'm not saying don't, I just don't. But I think a lot of people don't realize with the licking, it actually dogs tend to lick more at carrier oils than aloe vera. I've got 10 dogs that I've worked with, and this tends to work a lot better. So it's only coming from my personal experience. If you feel that you would prefer to use a carrier oil, by all means do. But really, I think that the power in the oil and using the aloe vera, especially when we're talking about skin, I'm not sure how certain dogs would work with certain carrier oils. So again, totally up to you. I totally trust that you know your pet. Can you put a drop of lavender on your hands, rub together? And of course, Lisa, that's silly. You know that question. I have to say, Lisa and I were at I guess what is a pet conference in the Javits Center once, and Lisa watched me put a dog to sleep. And what I used was, I used right behind the ears. You just put a little bit of lavender on these fingers, these two fingers, and these two fingers. You go right behind the ears and you start to massage. And dog was out, and the dog was a super spaz. So yes, and that is a great, great tip. Also, you can do like we've done those exercises before where I've showed you to rub your hands together and do it like this. You can do that as well and just do it with your dog like this. Pet Fashion Week. That's right. Remember that? That dog was out. I mean, he was like, the lady was looking at me like, what did you do to my dog? And I did not hypnotize him. I just used the ear lavender trick. And it works. Yes, it works for humans too. So that is another tip. If you want your husband to be really quiet, just, get some lavender, put it behind his ear, start rubbing, and he goes to sleep. Kids too, it will work there. So last but not least, we've talked about oils. We've said how they can support our animals' full body wellness, but there are some things that I want you to think of as well. I did bring out some Nature Red. I do make my dogs food. My son Logan always says, I think our dogs eat better than us. Food is huge. And if you haven't seen, there's several documentaries that talk about pet food. Pet food is terrifying, and won't go down that rabbit hole with you. But I will say, do your research about food. I know Susan knows the name of the documentary. It escapes me right now, but I shared that with many of Sophie's pet sitting clients, and they were like, oh my gosh, now I know why my dog has all these issues. So just like us, many of the things we do and use daily can cause our issues with our pets. So we'll talk about food first. I add a lot of the same berries that are in Nature Red. If you don't want to cook for your pets, I add all those berries to their food, and I add Nature Red. So blueberries are safe, strawberries, apples, bananas, carrots, sweet potatoes. I have an Amstaff. They need a lot of protein, but I use grass-fed meat, which is expensive. So I try to find vegetables that are dense in protein, like broccolis, green peas. So those are excellent. I just tried a berry supplement for the first time. Oh yeah, it is. It's really good. But this is a great antioxidant for your pets and you. So you could add this to their pet food if you want to, or you can add berries, or like me, you do both. The next thing I would say, which a lot of dogs need, is omega-3s. No, oh yeah, stink. Yeah, but what was that, Susan? I know we're on live, but I'm just going to ask you, what was that pet food documentary that you shared? We talked about, I think it was last year. Drop that one in the comments, because I bet people would freak out if they saw that documentary about pet food. Flaxseed, awesome for your dog. When we're talking about joints, loaded with omega-3s, omega-6s, fiber, awesome for hair, shiny coats, digestion. And the other thing, think about your health. We're talking gut health. That's a great idea. Colleen's talking about that she puts a few drops of Ninja in with her cat's food. Perfect, super healthy for them. But the other thing is, think about probiotics for your pets. Their gut health is just as important as our gut health. Overall wellness, mental wellness. Our cats, our dogs, our animals get depressed. I know our dogs do if we leave for any length of time. So we want to keep them balanced, whole body balanced, and adding a probiotic to their daily routine is extremely important. The other thing to think about, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, is the products we use on our dogs, our shampoos. And again, we talked about that Young Living has those in their wheelhouse, but also the cleaning products that you use. Imagine your cat or dog or whomever you have, if you're cleaning out your hamster cage, these with the chemicals that you're using in those, like I have a snake cage, which is terrifying, but you need to use plant-based products. I use Thieves. I've talked about Thieves. I love Thieves. There you go. Susan just shared it. So it's called Pet Fooled, Fooled. It's on Netflix. Highly recommend it, because I don't want you to think I'm a lunatic because I cook for my pets. I've made food for my pets for a very long time. The few times I've even gone to really high quality pet foods, my dog, who's 17, by the way, had severe issues with. So she is much better off when I cook for her. So I would definitely recommend looking at that video. It'll be an eye opener when it comes to using what types of food to use and how to feed your animals. I would totally stay away from dry food at 100%, no dry food. And cat food, and Colleen mentioned that you can add the Ninja to cat food. I get a really high quality raw food for my cats, and I use a pate. But, and there's ways that you can do it. It is affordable. It's just like when I was talking about eating organic and healthy for us. It's the same way for your pets. You can substitute other items in. Like I said, with high protein dogs like I have, I use all sorts of vegetables that are dense in protein and nutrients so that I don't have to spend $40 on just ground beef or steak, whatever I'm doing that week, or chicken. So just do your research. If you have any questions about essential oils or animal wellness, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am happy to share what I know. As I've mentioned, I'm a hardcore animal lover and an advocate. So I am a big believer in teaching people how to use a plant-based diet, maybe a little bit of protein from animal, and how that they can use essential oils and non-toxic products in your home. So thanks so much, Susan. I appreciate it. And thank you again, Deborah, for giving me this opportunity to share this with all of your viewers here on Well World TV. I'm excited to be here. I'll be segueing into a different series called The Plant-Based Home, where we will be talking all about products, everything you can imagine just using plants. That's it. We're not just driving down the diet lane. We're talking every lane of the whole body wellness. You guys have a great afternoon. Take care. Thank you for joining me. And again, drop those questions in the comments section below, and I'll make sure to get to them. Have a great afternoon, everybody.